Have you ever played a video game and got hit with something like this?
Huh?
You probably have, so let's go over some of the dumbest obstacles that have blocked your path in video games. I love the Resident Evil 2 remake. It might be one of my top 20 games of all time. The atmosphere is incredible, the gameplay holds up, and of course Mr. X makes this game way more stressful. But even with how great it is, some of these obstacles are just embarrassing to look at up close. First one, the tape. There's a box where Leon or Claire needs a knife to cut through some tape, and the game treats this like a real puzzle. You're telling me that Leon Kennedy, who we see do absolutely ridiculous feats, cannot open up a box with some tape without a knife. Like, he can't just go up to it and just peel the tape off. He needs a knife for it. And here's the thing, this isn't even just a Leon problem. Ethan Winters in Resident Evil 7 also refuses to peel tape barehanded. So apparently there's a company-wide policy at Capcom that tape is off limits without the proper equipment. Two grown men in two different games who take down a bunch of different bioweapons are just stopped by tape. But that's not even the one I really want to focus on here. The one that actually made me stop and stare at my screen is in the library. Part of the floor collapses and blocks your path, and you're thinking that, okay, if you can't go across this, maybe it's like a big gap. Maybe it's like 10 feet, I don't know. But something that makes sense that you just can't get across. And then you look down and it's literally this. That's the gap. This is the same character we see later jump across chandeliers and drive a motorcycle up a collapsing building. This 4-foot gap is just too much for him. He literally has two choices here. He can try to make this easy jump that the average 5th grader can make, or he can just go across this entire police station infested with zombies to try and find the tool he needs so he can move these different giant bookshelves. Just pure video game logic right here. Also, this will not be the last time Resident Evil shows up in this video. Before I get to the next example, write a comment on what you think the most ridiculous obstacle in a video game is, and also be sure to subscribe. So at the time of writing, I actually just finished Silent Hill Alpha yesterday, and the part that specifically inspired this was when I got to the middle school section. Now, Silent Hill as a series has always asked you to accept certain things on faith. The towns are cursed, reality bends, the monsters look like someone's fever dream. All pretty crazy stuff, but I mean, it makes sense in this context. What I cannot accept is this fence. It's not a supernatural barrier, there's no barbed wire, literally just a regular chain link fence that's about shoulder length high. Literally just a normal chain link fence that you've probably climbed over 50 times without thinking about it. Any reasonably fit person could get over this in about 4 seconds, but instead of doing that, the 3 characters look at this fence and instead decide to go into a school full of monsters actively hunting them.
Are you serious right now, bro?
It actually made me laugh just because of how ridiculous it is. Like, I understand that this is a big part of the game, so I'm not saying to have them skip this section, like at least make something a little more reasonable. And while we're on the topic of things that should not stop people, let's talk about Alan Wake 2. So like with the locked gate in Silent Hill F, Alan Wake 2 has a ton of these. Now early on it makes sense, there's a gate that's locked, but you're just conducting an investigation. You don't need to get through it just yet, and then you get a key. What's a little more frustrating is just how many fences there are that, to their credit, are higher than the one I mentioned in Silent Hill F. But still, as an FBI agent, in good physical condition, there's no reason why you can't climb over these chain link fences. Instead, Saga either needs a key or bolt cutters, so it's not like she's just not climbing over because it's illegal. She's more than willing to just cut the locks or take a key and use it. She just doesn't want to climb over. You would think when you're running low on ammo and you're fighting for your life against these monsters, you'd be willing to do a little climbing. Again, like with Silent Hill F, at least have like some barbed wire on top or something. Let's talk about Pokemon for a bit, and I'm going to warn you now that this will not be the last time we talk about Pokemon, because Game Freak has a real talent for putting dumb things in your way. Starting with the classics and Pokémon Red and Blue, every single entrance to Saffron City is guarded by a man who will not let you through. And the reason these guards are blocking one of the biggest cities in the game is not a security threat, not a quarantine, not anything that sounds like a reason a person with a job would give. They're thirsty.
Oh my god, bro.
These are grown adults with government positions, standing at official guard posts refusing to do their jobs because they want to drink, and apparently none of them thought to bring one. This is actually kind of where Pokemon is realistic, because it involves the government getting in your way with stupid things. So what do you have to do as a 10-year-old child traveling the country alone fighting monsters? You just have to walk to the department store, go up to the vending machine on the roof, buy something, and then walk all the way back. And the funniest part is it doesn't matter what you buy, fresh water, soda pop, lemonade, any of it works. You just need to literally bring him any drink and then he'll move out of your way. Also, I do just want to say briefly, in Fire Red and Leaf Green, it's basically the same, but you do just need tea. Dark Souls 2 does not have a jump button. That single decision has consequences that ripple through the entire game, and nowhere are those consequences more embarrassing than early on in the Forest of Fallen Giants. There's a small pile of rubble blocking a path that would let you skip a large chunk of the game, including multiple bosses and entire areas. And before I put it on screen what this rubble looks like, I want you to think what it looks like. Is it just this huge building that's collapsed that no person would be able to get through? Alright, do you have an image in your mind? Well, here it is. It's just a small pile of rocks that anyone could just climb over, but because you cannot jump in this, you simply cannot get past it. You fought your way through entire armies of enemies to reach this point. You have weapons, armor, anything you need, but then a pile of rocks that a golden retriever could clear is what stops you. This is perhaps one of the most famous examples of what I'm talking about in this video. Let's go back to Pokemon because the series never lets up. In Diamond and Pearl, you're trying to get to Celestic Town through Route 210, and the path is blocked as you would expect. Not by a wall, not by a fallen tree, not by anything that makes any sort of sense. It's blocked by Psyduck. A group of them just standing there on a narrow path, not moving. Now, I actually like Psyduck, and for some reason I have this giant plush of him, but your entire journey as a trainer has been built around moving Pokemon out of your way by battling them. Like, is that not the entire point of the game? You've been doing that for hours. Every wild Pokemon on the route is handled. But then these specific Psyducks, though, that's where it's off limits. So instead of doing the thing the game has taught you to do the entire time, you have to leave, go beat another gym, and then come back with a special medicine that Cynthia gives you. Then you walk up, cure all their headaches one by one, and they just wander off. Like, you really have to go earn another gym badge because of a headache? These aren't even rare Pokemon either. You can still catch a Psyduck early in the game. Like, this isn't even frustrating, it's just kind of funny if I'm being honest. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is a game about Cal Kestis, a Jedi survivor hiding from the Empire after
Order 66.
Wiped out nearly everything he knew. The whole fantasy is that you're a Jedi with a lightsaber getting stronger as you go, and lightsabers, as established by decades of Star Wars, cut through most things you'd realistically expect them to. The game itself shows you slicing through enemies and Imperial machinery without much resistance. So when you're exploring planets and run into a wall or barrier that looks like it should give way, your first instinct is to try and get through it. You have a lightsaber, and then you walk up to it, and nothing happens. The same weapon that just went through armored enemies suddenly can't interact with a specific obstacle, and it's always for the same reason. The game wants you to come back later with a new ability, which is fine, but when the limitation feels arbitrary, it just kind of takes out the immersion a little bit. Kingdom Hearts as a series has never really been focused on making logical sense, and that's honestly part of the charm. You're watching a teenager fight darkness across multiple Disney worlds with a giant key. The plot is so famously complicated that there's multiple hour video essays trying to explain the timeline. Consistency was never the priority here, but Kingdom Hearts 2 has one specific moment that, even by this series standards, is just so hard to look past. Midway through the game, Kairi gets captured and is locked in a jail cell in the world that never was, while Sora fights his way towards her. So what's the issue here? The bars on this cell are spaced so far apart that fans have been saying for years she could probably just squeeze right through them sideways. And then the manga of this ran with that exact joke. She's just sitting there the entire time with what looks like a completely usable exit directly in front of her face, and in fairness she does eventually escape with help, but still, whoever was assigned to build that cell turned in maybe like 30% of the work required. It just reminds me of this image. That person should have been fired a long time ago. And now just one more Pokemon example. In Black and White 2, if you try to reach White Forest or Black City via Route 14 too early, you're blocked by 7 guys standing on the covered bridge you need to cross. The reason for being there, according to their own dialogue, is that they're dancing. And also, they aren't dancing. They are occasionally turning slightly from side to side, and if you walk up and talk to any of them, they'll tell you that they're just dancing and won't let you pass yet. Most games at least try to give you something like a maintenance sign, just a guard, a locked gate, a suspicious NPC with some flimsy excuse, but Game Freak just had these guys look directly at you and just give that reason. I think this might honestly be the most ridiculous one out of the 3 Pokemon examples. Like, at least with Psyduck, like, maybe feel bad for them because they have headaches. With the guards, I mean, the government does love to inconvenience people, so it makes sense. But with this, you really can't get past these quote-unquote dancers. I told you we'd be back to Resident Evil, and this time it comes in the form of Resident Evil Village. After you defeat Lady Dimitrescu in Resident Evil Village and make your way back to the village, the path to the house with the red chimney is blocked by a tractor. Not a gate, not a collapsed structure, not anything that fits the tone of a horror game. Well, maybe it does, but it's blocked by a tractor. And the solution the game gives you is to not climb over it, it's to raise the tractor. So you have to find the jack handle, then you use that to bring up the tractor and crawl underneath it on your hands and knees. Like, Ethan Winters at this point had been through so much, and it really makes you think, how exactly is he still alive? This kind of reminds me of the Resident Evil 2 remake in the library, where it's such an easy obstacle to go over, and instead you have to inconvenience yourself and do work you just don't need to do. Maybe the real villain of the Resident Evil series is an umbrella, but it's just regular everyday objects that the average person could climb over, because apparently in Resident Evil world, that just isn't possible. The Last of Us is one of the most acclaimed games ever made, probably one of my favorite games of all time, and one of those reasons is that it is a very grounded game. It very much feels like a game that has its own set rules and uses those rules, but something that always kind of stood out to me was just the palettes. So you have Joel, who's just a hardened survivor who's been living in this world for 20 years, and he's been shown to be extremely resourceful and strong, but when it comes to pallets, it seems like he could just not use it himself. He has to drag the pallet with someone else on it, and then they help him up, and it just makes me think, how exactly would Joel get past this situation if he was by himself? Like, would he just be lost here forever if he didn't have someone to carry on the pallet? I would say that out of all the things on this list, this is probably the least egregious, because it kind of makes sense in a way, but also it's just used like so many times throughout the game that it just sticks out more and more. I want to talk about Mother 3. So this is a game with a lot of personality that is still somehow not got an official localization from Nintendo. But anyway, the prologue alone has you running into these giant friendly dinosaur-like creatures called Dragos, while your grandfather teaches you the dash mechanic by telling you to just run into one. It's very clear that the game is doing its own thing and you're along for the ride. But right there in that same prologue, before the actually strange stuff starts to kick in, you try to head south from your grandfather's cabin towards the forest, but you can't go that way. The path is blocked by ants. Not giant ants or giants. Not even dangerous ants, just regular ants sitting on the path, and ants you can step over without breaking stride. The game has just shown you that you could dash into the creature the size of a car and it will fall over. Like, you just learned how to run into a dinosaur 5 minutes ago, and a trail of regular ants on the ground is the immovable object. And even if you just want to say, maybe he doesn't want to step on the ants, am I wrong, or does he literally fight bugs later in the game? So you know what, I don't even know. And the last one, the one you saw in the thumbnail, is Silent Hill 2. So there are quite a few examples in Silent Hill 2 I could go over, but this one is just so absurd and is again one of the most famous examples of video game logic when it comes to blocking paths. So when you're in the apartment building and you're going on the stairs, you run into a couple milk crates. Literally just a few milk crates. That is what is blocking your path from going up the stairs. So I understand the developers don't want you going up that way, but this just stood out so much. When I was playing this, I went back there about 3 times when I was lost, just thinking about why can't I go up here? Like, you can't at least put like a couch in the way or something. Like, even that you can climb over, but that would be a little more effort than 4 milk crates. Unless James just has PTSD from the milk crate challenge, this is kind of just inexcusable. I love Silent Hill 2 though, one of my favorite games of all time, but this is honestly just hilarious. Okay, so after I recorded this video, I saw a screenshot from Fatal Frame where there's a path literally blocked by a red wheelchair.
There's no way, there's no way, there's no way.
Like, you're telling me you can't just move this? So I've never played Fatal Frame, but tell me, is there like a lore reason for this? Is there like any sort of explanation to this? I've heard a lot of good things about the remake in the series, so let me know in the comments if this is worth a try, and if there's other obstacles in the games like this. And that is the list. I'm sure there's plenty more examples that I could go over, so again, let me know in the comments some of your favorites, and don't take this too seriously. This is just meant to poke fun at some of the more ridiculous examples of blocking obstacles in video games. It doesn't actually mean anything. Obviously, it doesn't change anything because they're gonna have you go somewhere else. It's just kind of funny to look at when there's something you could easily get around in real life, but it's used to block you in a game. And sometimes it's pretty funny, like the Silent Hill 2 example. So if you did enjoy this, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.